into a little Austin Sports Weekend with Austin, the man here himself. We have finished up the regular season in the NFL. It is
Wildcard time.
Wildcard time. It is wildcard time. We need to talk about some wildcard football. But before we get started, thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here in studio. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. Got a couple cool basketballs here. Got a Larry Bird basketball. Got a Dalton Connect basketball. Be sure and check them out online. They got a pretty good website too. But let's jump into football. Before we get into wild cards, let's go ahead and recap Week 18. We had some Saturday games. Number one, we had a little Browns.
The Browns and the Ravens. Tiffany was happy that she won the number 2 overall pick in the draft.
They lost by 25 points to the Ravens.
And another good thing for the Browns is that Ken Dorsey was fired.
Finally, some of these bad offensive coordinators are getting fired. Somebody will hire him, though. He'll be an offensive coordinator for somebody else next year.
He'll be the offensive coordinator
for the Jets or somebody. They'll get rid of Hackett and who was the other one?
Downing. We'll talk about Downing's swan song after this.
But anyway, the Ravens ended up winning the NFC.
Winning the AFC North title.
The AFC North title. Because the next game,
the Bengals knocked off the Steelers.
The Bengals needed to win, and then a couple other things to happen to make the playoffs, so they did their part. They ended up, with a 5-game winning streak to finish out the season?
Yeah, and Joe Burrow playing the best football.
Joe Burrow played the best football in the NFL this year, but his defense just
let him down too much. And that's what led.
It's hard to score 35 points and lose.
The Bengals have fired their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, and I don't think that would be
I don't think that's a bad decision, no. Not after having the offensive breakout year and then not making the playoffs because the defense was giving up 35 to 40 points. So that's a good positive thing. And a really good positive thing is the look ahead for next year. If they can fix that defense, if they can cut 10 points a game off that defense, their offense is going to win a lot. Because the offense,
Dave Canales, I'll give him credit.
Higgins is a free agent. That's a little scary.
Well, T. Higgins is a free agent for the Bengals. That's really not very.
Hopefully they can find a way to bring him back. I think Chase is wanting him to come back, but Higgins is going to demand some pretty high money out on the market, so that might be tough to do. The Steelers, on the other downside,
they've played pretty poor lately.
They've lost 4 in a row
into the playoffs. That's a bad
way to trip into but they did make the playoffs because they'd already won They were
10-3.
They were 10-3 going into that,
but
ended up 10-7. But they're still into the playoffs. So,
but hey, Mike Tomlin, another winning season. He's never had a losing season.
He's still never had a losing season
as a head coach.
That's still crazy to me. Jumping on into Sunday's game. How about those Panthers? Like
I was mentioning, Dave Canales in the middle of the Bengals segment. It took a little while for Bryce Young to get going in his first season under Dave Canales. He was benched after week 2, brought back at week 8, and then he's just played much better.
He has been just lights out. I think he's finally in a system.
In this game in particular, he played like Super Saiyan Goku.
Yeah,
5 touchdowns.
44 points. He had rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. He had every touchdown.
He had even a Mahomes flick.
Yeah.
I mean, he was playing with confidence.
This is a very good look. You probably dropped down one spot in the draft of what you went, but it's good to see him do that. You've still got the number 8 pick going into the draft next year with a team that looks like they're taking strides forward. So, and like me and you were talking earlier, in the division he's in, the NFC
South is not the best division out there.
It's not a bad division to be an up-and-comer in. There's no Buffalo in it. There's no Kansas City in it. There's no Ravens in it. They could win the division next year if they made some pretty good strides. So I will take your shovel. You can quit digging, and I will start digging because here's my team. The Commanders at the Cowboys.
You ended with the exact same record that you thought
I told you at the beginning of the year the Cowboys would do what?
7-10.
What are they?
7-10. And now they possibly could lose Mike McCarthy.
it ain't good. It's not going to matter what the Cowboys do until they get rid of their owner. And I don't know if they're ever going to get rid of their owner.
Well, I'm just hoping on my end that David Tepper doesn't meddle in the draft decision. So let's hope that Jerry finally realizes. Let's step back.
He's not going to. He is the Emperor Palpatine of football. He is going to rule the galaxy. So I just don't have any hope whatsoever in my Cowboys. I'm a Panthers fan. I'm a Browns fan. I'm a Bengals fan. I'm going to live vicariously through all of my friends and family and just watch the Cowboys suffer because that's the way it's going to be. And speaking of another one of my friends' teams that we have all suffered this year, Texas Titans. The Titans secured the number 1 overall pick because they suck. They've been terrible this year.
They were bad this year. Just unbearably
They
bad.
lost 23-14 to the Texans.
Texans go into the playoffs 10-7, and the Titans fire their GM immediately after the game.
Which they needed to do.
Plus, I'm worried about the ownership of the Titans and where they're taking the franchise.
Me too. It all started with the GM before this GM. This GM sort of walked into a landmine. He wasn't going to make it out alive no matter what happened. The GM before this gutted the team of talent. And then thought he was good enough to bring back in young people and rebuild. And no Derrick Henry, who was the AJ?
No AJ Brown, not even a Tannehill who was cut.
Not even they gutted everything to keep Tannehill, which was a mistake. They got rid of everybody and got nothing in return. And now you have the number 1 pick in the draft. So, and then honestly, I told you, if this GM was the one who made the decision to pick Levis, he deserves to be fired. Because that was a disaster, and everybody knew it. The only people who had any hope was Titans fans. And they only had hope for about a game and a half. And then they realized...
The whole floodgates opened after that.
Yeah. Let's see here. So after that, we had the Saints, Bucks, and the Bucks
clinched the division
clinched
title.
the division 27-19.
Thanks to all they needed to do was win, and they got in. Mike Evans got 11 straight
1,000 yards. Well, the only other person to do that is
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice. That's not. How many times do we not talk about Mike Evans?
Well, we don't talk about him enough.
No, he is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver.
He's done it for the last 11 years.
11 years.
He's consistent, and he's always been a good pass catcher.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield's played out of his mind this year.
Now we had the Bills Patriots, and the Patriots won it, and then they fired the head coach.
Gerard Mayo got the boot.
Why would you fire somebody after the talentless team?
I want to tell you probably why, because Robert Kraft probably thought, hey, since Belichick, he was on his way out, he had a 4-win season, let's bring in Gerard Mayo, let's bring him in, let's slot him in there, and take this team that went 4-13 the year before and get them to the playoffs. He
didn't have a first-year quarterback
and a first-year head coach. He got screwed over.
You got to give him at least 3 years.
He gave him a 1. He was probably too busy making crap
The
cheese.
Patriots deserve whatever they get. I'm just gonna say that. We had Jaguars, Colts. Nobody cares. But the Colts won.
The Jaguars do whenever they fire Doug Peterson.
Yep, the Jaguars did fire their head coach after
he
this.
was a sitting duck for a while there.
Yeah, honestly, Peterson actually said, I think it was last week or the week before, this may be my last season here. He knew it was coming.
But they did keep the GM.
Yep.
Which is highly weird.
That's a little weird. We had the Giants, Eagles. Eagles pulled this one out 20-13. Jalen Hurts is hopefully going to be back for the playoffs. Yes. We're hopeful.
But the Giants, since we're talking about the Giants,
they kept their head coach
and their GM, which is very confusing after the 2 terrible seasons they've had before.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be changes on the staff at the very least if you're doing that.
If they look about again next year, they'll fire the janitors. They will clean that building out of people.
And Jalen Hyatt got frustrated, let alone the gag of me using the 0 catches, 0 targets.
Yeah, I don't.
He had 2 targets, but they were overthrown both times.
When you don't have a quarterback throwing it to him.
And the Giants put all their money in the Daniel Jones basket, all for it to completely fall under.
I always wondered why they did that. I was hopeful for Daniel Jones, but honestly, we'll see. Dable has got a great mind, from what I understand. We'll see what he can do next year.
Well, not necessarily shown it the past 2 seasons.
Not sounding much. We had Bears, Packers. Oh my! The Packers dropped down to the 7th seed because they lost
to the Bears
at home.
To the Bears, and the Bears had a bunch of struggles coming into this.
Yeah, but that was the Bears Super Bowl,
beating the Packers at their.
Yeah,
that's a low bar to cross.
They now, as far as their coaching goes, they have asked to speak to
Mike McCarthy
of the Cowboys, and also a couple coordinators too.
One of them being Ben Johnson, the highly touted offensive coordinator of the Lions.
Everybody's going to be going. Ben Johnson can basically pick what team he wants to go to next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of tricks in his playbook.
He is really, really good. We had the Seahawks, Rams. The Seahawks beat the Rams, but it didn't matter
because the Rams had already clinched the division before.
Yeah, so
even though they have the same record,
they had the same record, but the Rams had the strength of schedule.
And beat the Seahawks on the tiebreaker.
And the
Seahawks had a good season, 10-7, nothing to sniff at, guys.
No.
Move on to next year.
Yep. Dolphins, Jets. Tua did not play.
Tua did not play, and that hurt the Dolphins' chances.
Mm-hmm.
And see you later, Hackett. See you later, Downing. No more offensive coordinator jobs. Bless your hearts, guys. I hope you do well in your lives, but offensive coordinator duties are not your thing.
No, there's certain
I hope
people.
You understand what I'm saying.
They fail at every offensive position they've ever been at. They might be good head coaches. Just keep your minds out of the offense because you're terrible at offense. They're terrible.
I think the number one person to blame for this season for the Jets and for Big Al, I really do hope your guys turn it around soon.
The Jets owner may be just as bad as Jerry Jones.
Have you thought about that much?
I've been looking back at the Jets' history, and ever since
Woody,
they're bad, dude.
Woody is
with
bad.
Him as he is a terrible owner. They're looking at maybe hiring Vrabel. If they bring Vrabel in and let him have control,
I think they'll be much better.
They'll be a whole lot better off.
Other candidates they've.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you some of the other candidates Woody's considered?
Oh, who is it?
Nagy.
I hope his teenage son goes in and says, "Dad," or "Grandpa, hire Nagy." And I hope they hire Nagy, and then just completely fall off the plate. No, not really. I've got a soft spot for the Jets. I got to say, Big Al. Shout out to Big Al, one of our buggies of it. Get out of the foot. Jerry Jones and him, they need to go fishing together or something. Retire. Go trout fishing up in the mountains or something.
Woody's probably too busy going off to England with his buddies rather than owning the football team.
I don't know. We had the Chiefs Broncos. The Chiefs forgot there was a game going on.
I don't think they even cared in this one.
I think they lost on purpose.
That's why I say I don't think they even gave a crap in this game.
Think about this. Who's the only team that has beat the Chiefs in the playoffs recently?
Bengals.
Okay, so if the Broncos lost, see, Miami didn't have Tua playing, so Miami was going to lose. Cincinnati had already beat Pittsburgh, so two out of the things that happened to get Cincinnati into playoffs had already happened.
Either let Cincinnati in by beating Denver,
the Broncos, or let the Broncos win and Cincinnati gets out. If Chiefs beat the Broncos here, Cincinnati goes to Buffalo. Cincinnati
has had a history of beating Buffalo as well.
So if Cincy goes to Buffalo and wins, guess where Cincy goes next?
Kansas City in the divisional. And Burrows had experiences playing well against the Chiefs.
So the smart thing for the Chiefs to do
is a solid for the Broncos and let them in.
Let the Broncos win, and now the Broncos go to the Bills, and the Bills will beat the doors off the Broncos, and Cincinnati doesn't have to worry about either one of them.
I'm not going to go that hard on them, but
no, but they're not going to go to Buffalo and win.
it's going to take a couple more years with a rookie quarterback. Although being in a playoff game with a rookie quarterback's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, I do trust as an offensive mind.
But I would guarantee you that the Chiefs did not want to face Cincinnati in the playoffs. So they would rather have the Broncos in than Cincinnati. That's a smart thing to do. But, yeah, I guarantee you that's what happened. We had the Chargers-Raiders. How about those Chargers making the playoffs?
11-6. Jim Harbaugh turns it around again.
Harbaugh is a good coach.
He's a really good coach.
34-20. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense, and they're going to put their quarterback in a good position.
That's what Jim Harbaugh did at Michigan.
That's what he does. And congrats to Mr. Herbert.
He gets to actually play with a functional coaching staff for once.
And guess who is second behind Peyton Manning for career passing yards in their first 5 years?
Oh, Herbert.
How about
the old lightning bolt, the young lightning bolt.
How about them apples? 49ers, Cardinals. 49ers finished off their disastrous, injury-riddled year
with a thud.
And giving up 47 points to the Cardinals.
There's nothing Dobbs could do whenever you give up 47
You give up
points.
47 points and you're going to get beat. That's just all there's to it.
And let's just not skip over this Raiders part. The Raiders have canned Antonio Pierce.
I forgot. The Raiders, another one, canned their head coach, Antonio Pierce. I thought Pierce might have another year too, but
the bowl haircut, Mark Davis said that's enough.
I don't know.
But I don't trust that bowl cut Mark Davis much with the running the franchise at this point. He hired Josh McDaniels, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
You think he has a good eye for coaches?
No, I don't.
I feel bad for Raider Nation.
And then the game of the week, the winner of this took the NFC first position. The loser of this went down to the 5th seed. How about them apples? A 14-win 5th seed.
Let's just get this out of the way. The Lions won.
The Lions won easily, 31-9.
Jahmyr Gibbs exploded.
Everybody was worried about the Lions' defense. They gave up 3 field goals.
And the Vikings. Why did they?
3 field goals.
3 field goals and 2 turnovers on downs inside the 5. How?
You're 5 times inside the 30 and you get 9 points.
You got to get better in the red zone. You got to do something. Yeah, just tell O'Connell to run the ball a little more in the red zone, maybe.
I would say probably 60 to 70% of the powers that be were picking the Vikings because of their explosive offense and the struggles the Lions have had on defense. And I think they might have took that personally. And 31-9 is a pretty convincing butt kicking. So I'm happy for the Lions.
I mean, there's barely any fan bases that deserve this more than the Lion fans.
How many years did they go over?
Or just having so many losing seasons, so many years of trying to dig out of the doldrums. Now they have the chance to control their own destiny.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about these wild card games. We've got just 6 of them, so we'll cover those real quick. We got Chargers at the Texans. I'm going Chargers
because they're playing better right now, and Houston's only like 4-5 in their last 9 games.
Yeah, Houston struggled a little bit. The Chargers favored by 3. I actually like that pretty good. We got the Steelers at the Ravens.
Doesn't that bring you back?
Yeah, the Steelers again have lost 4 in a row. So
Baltimore is playing better.
I think Baltimore is going to win it. The line's 9.5.
I'll take the Ravens.
That's a little scary for me.
I'll take the Ravens, but not by that many points.
Yeah, that's a little scary for me. The Steelers have been keeping it close. They've been losing some, but they've been keeping it close. We got the Broncos at the Bills. I've got the Bills winning this.
I'm going to take Buffalo.
I got Buffalo winning this one, yeah. The line on it's 8.5, and I think that's right about what it's going to be. I think it's somewhere between a 7 to 10 point game. I would probably lean on taking the Bills on this one, minus the 8.5.
Packers, Eagles. This might be the chance to be one of the most competitive games of the slate.
This is going to be a very competitive game. Hurts has been hurt. He's supposed to be back, though. When he's on, he's pretty good. But I'm a little worried about the timing with the receivers and stuff since he's not been in.
And Kellen Moore being offensive coordinator, they've had issues with the passing game.
Yeah, Kellen Moore moved over from the Cowboys. I told you he was terrible.
But they had a great season, though, 14-3. They had the best. Saquon Barkley played out of his mind.
Saquon Barkley played out of his mind. He is probably he's the best running back in the league right now. I'm almost leaning towards the Packers here, plus 4.5.
But I think it's going to be a close game.
I think it is going to be a close
Packers
game.
fall over themselves.
Yeah. I think the Packers will be a little more focused, especially coming off that loss at home to the Bears. I guarantee you they're probably a little more focused this week than what they would have been if they would have handled the Bears by 20, you know. Last one, we've got Commanders Bucks. I think this one's going to be real.
Last one. It's Commanders Buccaneers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Commanders Bucks. We got the Vikings right after. We got the Commanders Bucks.
This has the
last Sunday game.
To be competitive.
Yes, I think this is going to be a very competitive game. Tampa Bay is favored by 3, which means they're at home. If it was a neutral side, it'd be 0. If it was like the Commanders, they'd be favored by 3.
You want to take the W's, the Wumbos?
I don't know.
Or do you want to take the Bucks?
This one's sort of up in the air for me. Josh McDaniels had a fantastic year.
Jaden Daniels has had a really
good year
for a rookie.
Let's 12 wins.
Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury duo. How is that going?
They've got a fantastic coaching staff. The Bucks don't have that good of a coaching staff.
But they
got Baker Mayfield is playing spectacular right now.
He's thrown over 45 touchdowns. Or like 42 or so touchdowns.
Yeah, touchdowns.
He's a gunslinger.
He is.
He's like a miniature Diet Brett Favre. You know, it's a Diet Coke.
Yeah, he is a Diet Brett Favre. He is. It's going to be a super competitive game. I might lean on Tampa Bay minus. I might lean Tampa Bay just because they're at home. Even though I know Tampa Bay's lost some home games this year, though.
And Washington's no slow.
This would not shock me if the Commanders won this. But I'm going to take the more veteran quarterback. That's the main thing holding it for me. Now Monday night is our last game. We got the Vikings at the Rams. Surprisingly, the line's only 1.5 points. Vikings, as strong as they've been the whole year.
Minnesota
I got Minnesota winning by
3.
Probably 3 to 6, somewhere through there really. Just because, again, they're coming off of a really hurtful loss that took them from the number 1 seed to the number 5 seed. I guarantee you, if practices were a little more crisp this week, people listened a little bit more this week than what they would have. And I think they go out to the Rams. And now I'm not going to take away from Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is great, but I'm going to go Vikings there. I think we got the Vikings. So that's it. That is all for our wild card round. I think we covered most of our breaking news there as we went through as all of the firings and stuff. Make sure we didn't lose. The quarterback, Deshaun Watson, suffered a setback during his Achilles recovery. So we're not sure about his status going into next year, even though they reworked his contract and he's supposed to be back. The Browns with the number 2 pick, I think, will pick a quarterback.
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind.
No. Especially with that going on there. We talked about Doug Peterson being fired. I think that's about it. Yeah, Justin Herbert being behind Manning. I think we got most of our breaking stuff there covered. So that's it for this week. Next week we'll recap these games here, and then we'll jump into the divisional round games. We're down into the juicy part of the NFL now. So thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us here. Be sure and check them out. Other than that, we will see you
next week.